Hey everybody, welcome to the webinar today. I hope you're doing well. My name is Jeff Gibby. I'm gonna read a legal disclaimer to you and introduce today's guests. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So I hope you enjoyed that. I do want to just kind of say a few things about David Derricott. David is a personal friend of the family. I've known David for longer than he's actually worked here at MetaStock. He's worked here, I can't remember how many years, so I have to tell you that part. But he's worked here for a number of years, probably gone on 15 or something. He's a great guy. He knows the software in and out. And out of all of our sales guys, he's definitely one that people that work with him absolutely love him. And he's great. So that's the intro I'm going to give you to Dave. Dave, let's go ahead and get you started, buddy.
All right. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me.
I can hear you. Let's
go
ahead and turn.
So do you have to start making me presenter so I can share my screen?
I think so, but let's see if this works. Go ahead and will you hold on a second, because everybody's in here as MetaStock webinar, right? So let me know.
I can't share my screen yet.
Let me know if that you can now.
Still can't.
Okay. How about now?
Show my screen.
Perfect. Oh, we can see your chat box.
That's what we want, right?
That's perfect. Yeah, you got it.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Jeff, thanks so much for the introduction. Again, as you said, I've been here for a number of years, 15, going on 16 this September to be exact. I started with MetaStock version 9. Tells you how far back when I started back in 2004, late 2004. So yeah, today I'm going to actually present to you one of our add-ons. I like to mix it up. Sometimes I'll do just pure presentations on MetaStock, but today I decided to talk a little bit about one of our most popular add-ons, and also one that I actually like to trade with a lot as well. So I use a lot of different systems in MetaStock for my trading, but I personally like this one for its simplicity. And as I dive into it, you'll kind of see what I mean by that. If there are any questions, we've got Jeff and our marketing manager monitoring our YouTube channel and our GoToWebinar channel. So if there is anything that comes up, definitely stop me and I'll be more than happy to repeat it. So let's go through the developer. This guy, he's a really, really nice guy, knows what he's doing. He's been trading for 30 years, 30 plus years, as I say here. So I'm just gonna kind of give you a little bit of an overview. I don't want to read it word by word. But he's been, like I said, a senior trader at tradingwins.com is the company that he created, and he's been trading this way for about 3 decades, excuse me. Been trading professionally and developing his different trading systems. And this add-on actually took us quite a few years to develop and kind of really get it to where it is today. They went through a lot of different revisions, but he's been really focused on helping people become more successful. He has a great strategy and program to help people understand his strategies. What's really nice and why I like this program the most out of a lot of our add-ons, I shouldn't say the most, but one that's up there in the list, is because it works with any market. I've got people that trade in like the Saudi markets, the Indian markets, the US markets, and it doesn't matter if you're trading stocks or futures or indices, options, you name it, it will work for it. It will work in those different markets, and it can be used with any types of time frames as well. And I'll kind of go through as much as examples as I can. We'll do some scanning on it and kind of showing you how everything works within the MetaStock program. So with that being said, what you actually get with this, he has one template that actually is just kind of preset for you. What that means is you don't have to go and build the chart the way he likes to trade. It's already built for you. It's already there. You don't have to do anything. Basically, a one click and you're at the point of where his add-on is set inside of MetaStock. It also has explorations, what he calls a setup, meaning like a pre-trigger, I would guess is the best word I could use for it. And then he actually has an exploration that you can scan for alerts that are currently happening. There's an expert advisor with a very detailed expert commentary. I'm going to go through all this as well for those that might be new to MetaStock and not sure about the verbiage that I'm using. But again, like I mentioned, it does work with every market out there. And you also, when you do purchase it, if you're not already using it, you do get 2 expert training courses by Trading Winds. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and just pop up MetaStock. I do want to make sure everybody can see my screen. So if you could either say yes in the YouTube channel or in the GoToWebinar room, that'd be helpful. Perfect. Okay, so basically this is what it looks like when you first open up a chart inside of MetaStock. And I'm just going to go through a few little things that you can do inside of MetaStock before I dive directly into the add-on for those that may not be MetaStock users. So this right here, the interface, is what we call our Power Console. This is where you can open up your charts. You'll see there's like a Quote Center app, an Explorer app. I'm not going to dive too much into these, but this is where we're going to run most of our scans today, called the Explorer. For those that have MetaStock and have not dove much into that tool, it's a really fantastic tool to help you find good trading opportunities. So with that being said, you can also do back testing. There's a forecasting tool built into it. There's options analysis tools. So a lot of different things built into MetaStock. So let's go ahead and just open up a few charts. You can either just type them in up here, or I can come down here in the different lists where it says public online data and expand these lists out and check the boxes of which ones I want to open. Let me actually go through that part actually instead of typing it in so you can see what I mean. So if you want to open up, let's call it like Ameris Bancorp. If you want to open up, let's just pick a couple here, Corda, and I'm just going to go down the list. And you can shorten this list very easily, but I'm just going to grab a couple just so you can see how it works. So that's one way we can open up charts. We'll just go in and click Open Chart. I've got it set as my default template, which is just a candlestick chart, really kind of just a bear chart at this point. So those are the different ways you can open up charts. I actually like to look at a few other ones. So up here, I'm just going to type in a diamond for the Dow, and then we'll do the SPY as well. And then we'll open up all those charts. So now we got our charts open. Now I want to show you how you can actually apply the events for Voracity. Like I said, it's just a template that's already built into MetaStock. Really easy way of doing it, and I'll show you a couple different ways of applying it. But the first way, if you have a chart already open, this is the SPY. Actually, let's choose, I'm gonna go to the diamond. I like that one actually a little bit more. So we'll do the diamond here. So you right click on it and choose Apply Template. And then I have a lot of add-ons installed, so you're not going to see near this many in your program. And down here where you see where it says Vora Voracity, you just double click on it and it automatically applies the chart. It actually already has the indicator that's built in there. And as you can see, you've got these little diamonds and the signals on the chart. So let me kind of go through this, as I mentioned in the very beginning of the webinar, where you have a detailed commentary window along with the expert advisor. If you're new to MetaStock, the expert advisor is what actually gives you those buy and sell signals on the charts. And then you have your diamond as well, which is also part of the expert advisor, and the colored candlesticks in this situation. If you like bars, you can definitely change them. And for those that want to look at bars, we'll kind of look at both. In this case, let's go ahead and change this over to bars. You just double click, and then you come to this drop down and choose bars instead of candles, and then you click OK. Pretty easy to do. So the reason why I like Voracity a lot is because these larger moves in the market, he really pinpoints those very well. As you can tell right here, this last large move with the diamond off the Dow. As I mentioned in the beginning on the presentation, he has what he calls explorations for setups. And the setup is where you see those diamonds in the charts. And that's basically just telling you, hey, get ready to get into a trade as long as it hits the price correctly. So in this case, you want to make sure to set up a limit order is how I would do it. And then once you have that set, you'll put it to the entry. It has to be below the low of the previous bar if you're shorting. If you're going long, then you want to make sure the next bar or candlestick goes above the previous bar's high. So in this case, it did go below the low of the previous bar, and that's why you got an actual short signal in here. What's really nice is if you trade stocks or if you trade options, he actually goes into different trading opportunities as well, be it if you're long term, if you're doing day trading, so on and so forth. And so once you've gotten into the trade, you can basically just follow the trend along. I mean, it literally, you don't have to, if you want, you can set like a 2 or 5 or 4% stop if you want to, but it just goes into a lot more detail right here. And traders that are interested in taking advantage of this opportunity should look to short selling the stock, while the option traders should consider intermediate term options out 2 and 3 months before expiration. Or if you're doing weekly options, obviously you'd be getting out of that trade a little bit sooner versus staying in for months at a time. But it really just kind of depends on the type of trader that you are. And that's one thing that I really like about it. So let me just do maybe a couple other examples on the charts that I opened up. This isn't one that I've actually ever traded, the Alcor Therapeutics. It's not a very high price stock, obviously. But if we right click and do apply template, we'll see how Voracity does. And see, I can pick and choose different stocks and symbols that I want to open. But really the power of this add-on is where it goes back to scanning for those opportunities. That's what I'm really interested in, is scanning. But this one it does really well with this one, as you can see. Let's zoom in a little bit and then go back a little bit over here. So we had a nice little move right here where we got our setup. This is obviously back in 2019. So back in September of 2019, we got our setup in the very next bar because it had gone below the low of the previous setup bar, got us into the trade. And what's nice is if it does reverse on you, a lot of the times when I've gotten into trade, I shouldn't say a lot, when I've gotten into a trade and it's reversed on me, literally within the next candlestick, it's gotten me out. So the nice thing is it does help me eliminate my losses. It really does help to capitalize on those nice large moves in the market, and then that way I can eliminate my losses and really make sure I have larger wins than losses when I'm trading. And that's really why I like to use this system a lot. So just a very easy, simple, not really much to it. It does a lot of calculations in the background. Obviously I can't share those with you because it is a algorithm that Vince created, but it is a very easy system to follow. So let's go ahead, now that I've showed you how you can apply the template to the chart, let's go ahead and close out some of these charts here. And then we're going to kind of start from scratch. I want to show you how I like to use this. You can really use it however you want as far as the scanning goes. So what I've done is come over here to our scanning, the Explorer tool. I've actually set up a scan for price and volume. And a lot of people like to do this. I always get that question when somebody's new to using MetaStock. They always tell me, okay, I can scan the market for anything, but I really don't want to trade anything that's under $100 or under 50, or maybe you just want to trade penny stocks, or you want to trade stocks between $5 and $25 and have a volume of 100,000, 200, etc., whatever you want to do. So what I did is I created a little price scan for myself. I basically made a scan that I wanted to look for anything between $5 and $25. But we can always change this because this code is actually open. So I'm the one that actually had my support team help me create it. I shouldn't say I'm the one that created it. So let's look for things that are between $10 and $35, and we'll leave the volume at the same, which is 500,000. So I'll go ahead and just click close. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, for those that are maybe just getting started and you only have an account of maybe a couple thousand or even 5,000, you don't have a ton of equity and capital to trade with. Obviously, the less you lose, the better, and the more you win, the better. So what I like to do is I like to look for those stocks that are within that price range that I know I'm going to want to be looking at. I'll run that scan first, and then I'll run the scan on the Voracity setups, because that's what's going to tell me which ones are getting close to giving me a signal. And in this scenario, I'm just going to do the NASDAQ exchange. So there's 3,400 symbols in there. And this actually brings up a good point. I always like to bring this up for our MetaStock users or even our new users. You can actually, in MetaStock 15 and higher, you can download your data so you don't have to access the server for each individual symbol that you're trading, that you want to scan for, excuse me. And then that way it takes probably, maybe a couple minutes to run the entire scan over almost 3,500 symbols. Shouldn't take us too long. And then right here on the Explorer tab, you want to make sure that the price and volume one is first, and then your Voracity setups. So we'll go ahead and just click on Start Exploration. And then shouldn't take too long to start. Okay, so you can see how quickly it's running because all of my data that I've downloaded is offline. Yeah. Sure, go ahead. Yeah, I got time. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's general. I really look for those breakouts. I actually do both because I look for the veracity when a setup comes, and I guess the way I really like to look at it is I'll scroll kind of back on the chart, looking for those and kind of pinpointing those little breakouts in the market or on that particular chart that I'm on. But I also look at like the bottoms. If the market has made like a new bottom or like a double bottom, I want to make sure the veracity is giving me like a setup for I guess a break above the base. So that's kind of how I look at it. But really with veracity, I use it in both ways. You really could use it with both ways. It doesn't really matter, whatever you feel more comfortable with. If you're more comfortable in looking for breakouts, then that's really what I would look for with veracity. And it does help you with both. I hope that answers that question. Yep, we can. Hang on just a second. So you're going to actually use it the same way. You're going to analyze the underlying security, and then within the underlying security, you're going to actually go over to your broker to look at the option chain. But inside of MetaStock, if you have MetaStock real time, or even if you have the end of day version with MetaStock 17, you have the ability to analyze the option chain. But within the veracity, I don't trade options. I'm just going to tell you right now, so I'm not going to be 100% probably clear on how to trade it with options, but I always will tell everyone that trades this with options to analyze the underlying security. And then from there, you can move over to your broker platform and look at like the strike price, how close you are if you're in or out of the money. And then, compare that with the setup of the veracity. But again, like I say, I haven't traded options. I'm barely getting into it. So that's kind of how I would approach it if I were trading options. Is there any other questions? Okay, so on here, I'm just kind of wanted to show you how I like to use this. So I've got my price and volume scan. So the ones that have actually hit my price and volume, obviously I was looking for ones between $10 and $35, I think I put in here. So I put the close in as one of the columns, so I know that these have met that criteria. But what I really want to know is this one. So if I'm looking for longs or shorts, I can organize it that way. If you're a lot of people are trading their retirement accounts, so it's better to just do longs if you're more of like an options and trader that way, or if you have enough in your account, then you can obviously do shorts as well as longs. But let's just go over and look at the long side. So this was actually one that I was trading a little bit a couple weeks ago. These Lakeland Industries, they do a little bit with the face masks. So let's go ahead and just apply this to the chart. So again, you open the chart just by double clicking on the symbol inside the Explorer window. And then I'll go back and apply the veracity. I have to do this manually because I reset my default template. If I apply this, if I had applied this when I opened up the chart, it would have actually showed already on the chart. But here's the thing that's really nice. So because I ran that scan on all the long setups, and this was one of the top two that I like to place trades within the price range that I like to look for, I'd actually just gotten a long setup. So in this one actually would have been really well. This was the last trade that I took. I actually put in a limit order right here once I had that set up. And I rode it all the way up to here, and then it started to fall back, and I ended up losing a little bit of money, but I still was able to capitalize on a lot of it. So, but that's a nice thing with veracity. It really does help you take advantage of those larger moves. Another one that I'll show you here in just a second that I traded a couple weeks ago too, but this is a great way to set up your trades for either the next day if you're an end of day trader, or on the next candlestick if you're a day trader. So we'd go in and just put in a limit order based on this candlestick's high. So you'd stick in a limit order at 17, it's called 1750, because that would be it crossing above the high of this current candlestick. So as long as it hits that, then it puts you into the trade. And that's kind of how Vince talks about it as well, putting in more limit orders and doing options and puts and calls and things like that. He does go over a lot of the options side of things with his training classes as well that you get when you purchase the Voracity system as well. So that's a nice one that would have made us some good money there. So let's go ahead and close out of that one. Let's give some few more examples from our Explore report here. So we'll just kind of scroll down a little bit here. We got Proficient Alpha acquisition. We've got a long entry. Let's go ahead, or a long setup. Let's go over here. I'll just minimize this again. Not the greatest amount of volume, so don't know how well it's going to pan out on this one, but let's just take a look. And that's the thing that I do like about it a lot, because even if you have a setup, see, you notice you're getting a lot of like long setups here, but it didn't actually hit the price. So if you're somebody that likes to trade in between the price range that I kind of showed you, then this would be a great way to make sure you're not getting into a horrible trade. You know, if you're doing more long-term, maybe you'd want to just kind of stay in here for the long term. Obviously, the price per share is very low, so it really wouldn't be that big of a deal if it reversed on you a little bit. But it's nice just to kind of show everybody, yes, you're going to get those setups, and because it hasn't hit the high or crossed to the high of the next candlestick, that's why you're not getting the signal. Yet those are the really important things to pay attention to with this add-on, is you want to look for those setups, and then you set up limit orders for the price, the price that has to be above the high. So in this case, if I was going to place a trade, I'd want to put my entry price at $10.15, and then I put however many shares I want to. And then the commentary window for those that are options traders, again, it just goes into a little more detail on understanding like how you would trade this with options. Again, like I mentioned, I'm not an options trader, I'm just barely getting into it. So, but most of the time from when I watched Vince's webinars, and you can kind of go back and watch his as well, he does talk and trade a little bit more on the option side of things, but he does a lot on just those kind of shorter moves with options. From what I gathered, he does more on the weekly options. But yeah, no, again, it's a really good program. So let's go back and look at my Explore reports window again. Let's go on the short side and see how well those did. So again, if you're a MetaStock user, you can just organize the reports window just by clicking on the column name, short or long, and it'll actually organize it by which ones are giving you a short setup or long setup. So let's grab eBay as an example. I'm going to set this back to my default template. Hang on just a second. Okay. So in this case, we've gotten a short setup. So we want to go in, if we were going to make a trade on this one, you can go in and put a limit order. Make sure you put your limit order entry at the low. So you put it in at 34.35 if you want to be exact. As long as it crosses below that price, then that would be your entry. But if we scroll back on the chart, and I'm just using daily charts right now, but let me flip over into like a 5-minute chart or a 10-minute chart, which is actually one that I like to look at as well. And I'll show you one that I was trading. I want to make sure I got that one right. Hang on just a second. And oh, I think that's the right symbol. I'll just double check it in a second. So select instrument. Yep, that one's right. Okay, so this is actually a really good example of the Voracity. Again, this is actually the area where I got in and I took advantage of that whole large move. And I think that's why I really like it, because I'm not a day trader. I'm just going to point it out there. Obviously, I work at MetaStock, so, but it's nice to take advantage of those large moves in the market while you're still at work. And that's what's really nice with Voracity. It works with any market, be it stocks, options, futures, whatever. So let's go ahead, and I've talked enough about stocks. Let's go ahead and dive into some Forex pairs and futures and see how well it works there. And we'll flip it over into more shorter time frames. So we'll do the euro. Let's do the euro for now. And I'm going to put this down here. So now each time within MetaStock you open up and change anything in the Power Console, any symbol you open up next will open up with that same setting. So the next time I go and type in a symbol in the Power Console, it'll open up with Voracity instead of the previous settings that I had. So let's go ahead and I'm going to actually go in and let's do a 30-minute chart. Vince does trade a lot off of the daily and like the 1-hour charts, but I always like to show these different types of markets that you can trade within MetaStock and using his. So for example, this last one, I stuck this on a 30-minute chart. So this good move right here would have been yesterday, 5:30 in the morning, trading on the euro, got you out in on a setup, crossed below the low of the previous candlestick, and got you in on that large move. So this was trading off of a 30-minute. I've traded off of a 10-minute. A lot of my Forex guys like to do 10 and 15 and 30, but that was a great trade right here. So, and you could have stayed in, you know, sometimes if you want to stay in through the exit, you can. If you want to use your own judgment and you have your own set rules for your stops, you could definitely take advantage of that. But a great way of getting in on that short position with the euro. Let's take a look at the pound. Let's go here. See how they did on that one. So I'm still in on a 30-minute chart. Pound got us in at, or sorry, Voracity got us in on this last setup. We'll just look at our last move that we had. So got us in at, would have been the 0.522. So as long as it crossed above, once you put your limit order in, obviously you're going to put as much contracts as you want, and then you still would actually be in this trade. It hasn't given you any short, exits off of the long. And so the other thing too, he talks a lot about options and call options and things like that. Obviously with Forex, there's not a lot of options trading unless you're doing futures on, options on futures, like the euro future and the pound future and the Canadian future, etc. for those that trade those. But if you can be as conservative or as aggressive as you want to with this, it definitely is a great little add-on. So let's go in and go into one of the more popular futures that are traded, and we'll talk about the E-mini S&P 500 and use that with Voracity. So again, the last move that we had, right here, we got a setup and would have been into the trade once it crossed 288351. So once it crossed there, you'd be into the trade. At this point, you're still in that trade. But this last move, it's a really good trade right there. You got in, took advantage of the large move here. If you're shorting the market over here, the last short move that we had, if you're doing shorts on the S&P 500 future, great way to go about it with there. Maybe you guys want to throw out some symbols for me. I can't see the YouTube channel, but if you want to throw out some symbols that I can test, so maybe I can show you a little bit better scenario on what you trade. Ooh, that's a good one. I was looking at that one the other day. Let's see, L. That didn't pull up the right one. I know that's not the right one. I don't know why I did that. Let's pull it up through the Power Console. Hang on a sec. That's better. Okay, so this actually is a nice one. I've been following this one for a little while, and I'm gonna leave it at the daily for now, but then we'll also go over to the 10-minute that I like to look at it on. So back on 2.6, right as the market started to crash, or basically to short, this is a great shorting opportunity, and the Voracity picked it right up, as you can see right here. Back on 226, you had a low was 116. So as long as it crossed the low on the next candlestick, that would have been your limit order to enter. And at that point, you would have rode that all the way down. You did lose a tiny bit right here. I wouldn't really call it a loss, but it started to reverse on you, and it got you out as soon as it started to reverse. So that's a perfect example how Voracity works. I actually have a template that I set up for all the travel stocks. Let me show you what that did. Actually, before I do that, let me close out of all of the other charts that I have open. If there are any others, Greg, that people are wanting to see, then let me know and I'll put those in as well. Okay. I think nail is on the NASDAQ, so I think it has a .o on the end. If I got those symbols wrong, then I'll find them in the power. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's a .k. Hang on. Let me just look it up really quick. Oop, where's my mouse? There it is. Symbol contains K. NAL. Yeah, I was wrong. It's a .k. Let's go into these charts, then I'll show you the ones that I was looking at as well with Voracity. So this one is SAN. Let's make this one a little larger. So this is actually, it's kind of a little volatile right here, but it still took advantage of this last signal, the little big one right here. So it got you in. This would have been the 21st of February. Got you in the very next candlestick, happened, and rode that all the way down. And then again, it kind of reversed a little bit. And as soon as it starts to reverse, got you out. Maybe if you were looking at on a 30-minute, let's go ahead and change it over to that time frame. A little more choppy, but still would have done a pretty good job. Has a little bit more gaps, but obviously I'm not going to say that every system is perfect, but it did still take advantage of those shorter moves for you. I always like to look at the daily chart first, and then I'll go into like my shorter time frames. Like maybe look at this on a 4-hour chart. Maybe it would have done a little better. But again, yeah, it still took advantage of those little smaller moves. If you're more day trading, still did really good there. But I did like the view and the trades a little better on the daily chart with this particular symbol. Not everyone works great. I mean, I actually look at RCL on 10 minutes, so that one does well. So there's SAN for you, Augustine. And then we've got NAL, NAL.K is the actual symbol because it's on the New York Exchange. So perfect right here. We got our setup, and then got you in because it hit the low of the previous candlestick. Reversed a little bit, but then it kept going down, and it actually got you out right almost at the bottom. So that would actually been a really good trade right there. Let's say you want to move it over to a 30-minute, see how well it would have done on the shorter time frame. Still perfect. I'm not going to use the word perfect. I shouldn't use that. Right here over on, let's look at our last large move that we had over here. So that would have been on the 24th of April. We had a long setup, and then the very next bar, I need to zoom in a little bit here. So you had a long setup right here, which would have been on the 24th. So as long as it hit above 11.55, then you would get into the trade, which it did enter you into that trade. And it even took advantage of all those gaps with this. Again, this is the symbol NAIL.K. And right as soon as it started to reverse, got you out. Had some short setups down here. Obviously, they got canceled out because it didn't hit the low of the previous candlesticks low, or didn't cross below the low of the previous candlestick. So again, very easy, simple system to follow, not really much to it. We have done a lot of webinars on this system. It's very popular. There's a lot of the sales guys that like to trade with it as well in both the short, long-term, and investments as well. So it does really good. One last one that Augustine wanted was OXY. So I've got this on a daily chart. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last big move. You actually got quite a few in here that would have gotten you in and out, even on the daily chart. But let's move it over to a 30-minute, see how well. Sometimes it gets a little choppy, doesn't do as well. But again, like I said, it's not a perfect system. The reason why I like it a lot is because I scan for those setups. And Vince kind of talks about this in his webinars as well. He doesn't really care what he's trading as long as it's going to make him money. So again, this very last short move that we had, if you're shorting the market at that point, back on 5.6, we're looking at a 30-minute chart right now. So our low would have been 14.58. As long as it crossed below 14.58, then we'd be in, which we were. And it took advantage of that whole large move right there, and then got you out. So definitely a really good, simple system to follow. Another one I was going to show you, I was going to pull up all my travel stocks that I like to follow right now. I actually went and created a layout for it. So just called travel layout, and all of them have Voracity already on it. So don't have to reapply anything for you. And that's the nice thing with MetaStock for those that may be the first time watching our webinars. MetaStock has tons of functionality. You can set up layouts and templates, as you saw when I applied the Vince for Voracity. You've got lots of just little things that are going to make your trading life a lot easier. I like to show this one because this is the one that I have the most experience with lately. Not to say that I don't know any of the systems inside of MetaStock. I do know the program pretty well. It's as Jeff kind of said, but these are all on intraday 10-minute time frames. So here's a good example of Norwegian. And these are, again, all 10 minutes. So if I flip it over to a daily, it would be a little bit different view. But this is great for somebody that is day trading it. You've got your small moves. It's a low enough price stock that you could put in a whole ton of shares on there and make some good money on just these small moves. So I have actually kind of a side story. I have a broker that has been using our end of day version for years and years and years and years. And anyway, so we had a Voracity webinar one day, and he he ended up buying it, wanting to try it out for his clients and for his own trading as well, and ended up increasing his odds by 30% the next 6 months is what he told me. So, and I didn't ask for his feedback. He just gave me a call back like 6 months later, and he's like, "Oh man, this thing has helped me so much for me and my clients." So, definitely coming straight from a broker's mouth over in New York, and he's a really good customer and friend of mine. So it's actually worked out really well for him. But yeah, and again, if you want to switch these back over to a daily chart, then you could take advantage of those longer moves. And this again is Norwegian. Got you a setup on the 7th of February, and you rode that all the way down. So as you can see, it's a very simple, easy system to follow. You obviously can still apply your own stop rules if you'd like. However you like to use it is definitely up to you. But yeah, this actually does really well and has done really well right now with all of these travel stocks like Carnival. American Airlines is another one that it does great on. Let's kind of look that one at right now. And I actually ran a scan on all these to make sure it's going to work really well before I did this webinar, and then I created the little layout. But yeah, so again, right here we got in on May 7th. This is on a 10-minute time frame at so we would have gotten in right at 9:34, and then right now we're just riding that up, and we would have gotten out right as it started to reverse. So really good, easy system. Greg, do we have any other symbols that people want me to look at? All right. Well, it's the CW Wayfair. You got it, Jeff. So didn't get any signals right here because, and here's the one thing that a lot of people ask me this question. Well, I got a setup, and the very next bar didn't go above the high, but it's still going up. So why didn't I get a signal? You know, again, it's not perfect, but the one thing with Voracity is it has to execute that trade within the next 4 bars, and if it doesn't, or candlesticks in this case, if it doesn't, then it basically cancels out the trade. And again, it's doing a lot of different calculations in the backgrounds, and I don't have access to that code, so obviously I don't know everything that it does. I really do like this system. For this last one right here though was really good. Back on 2/13/2020, you had a short setup and an entry because it did go below the low of the previous bars. Excuse me, previous bar's low in this case. So really good move right there. You know, if you switch it over, so let's go into a 10-minute time frame. See how it looks there. This one actually did really well on the shorter time frame here. So even just back here, we had a setup on 5/4. We've gotten in at 125.89, and we did hit that trigger, and it also took advantage of this huge gap right here as well. Then it started to reverse a little bit and got us out. So very, very easy, simple system. Any other symbols that people want me to show on the charts here today? Okay. So again, I mean, I guess what I really like to reiterate with this system, I don't want to say it's a perfect system, but it is one that I really like to follow a lot because of its simplicity. And Trading Winds is the company that Vince Vora manages and owns. He actually does a very good job. They're really good at supporting it. Plus, you get 2 expert training videos with it. Obviously, if you ever have any issues or questions about it, you can contact me or any of our support guys as well. But it's a very good system. It is actually on sale as well for those that attended the webinar. But let's run some more scans. You know, I only did some scans on stocks. We've got 20 minutes left, so let's go ahead and do some more explorations. Let's change the price scan that I ran. Let's change it to higher priced stocks. And Greg, if there are any others that people want me to look at, just let me know. Let's do between 100. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? So we'll do 100 and between 150. Let's do the volume, anything over 1 million. And then we'll just click OK. So we're going to run that scan first, and then we'll run the Voracity setups. Let's see how that one looks. I've got to close my other window here for just a second. Okay, so then we'll start that exploration. I think I'd start. Okay. All right, so it's running scans. Are there any other questions while that's running? It'll take a little bit for it to run, probably about a couple minutes. Okay, and I don't see any in GoToWebinar either, unless I missed something. Yeah, I don't see any. Okay, okay. And this also brings up another good point that I like to talk about, even though I'm focusing a lot more on Voracity and not necessarily 100% on MetaStock, but I like to show is a lot of people always come to me with, especially for new users, it's like, well, can I run scans based on my own methodology? You most definitely can. The one nice thing with MetaStock is as long as you can define it mathematically, then we can create it as either a scan or a test, or even if you want to create your own expert system like Vora, like we've done with Vora, you definitely can do all these kinds of things inside of MetaStock. And it really just kind of depends. Everybody's trading style is different. This is just how I like to trade, and I've kind of followed Vince's style of trading as well. So it actually has done really well for us, for me, and also us as a company. It's probably one of our add-ons that we've sold close to the most of. Obviously, Jeff could attest to that one. So here's a good example. So, you know, a lot of people were like, okay, well, you're going to get like 50 different results back if you're doing like the entire NASDAQ with Voracity. And that's kind of why I like to set up that price scan. As you notice, the last scan that I ran was quite large. Once I got to the actual, the setup, I think it was probably like 15 or 20. I'm never going to look at that many charts at the same time. So this is actually good for us. You know, we're only going to look at one. It's a short opportunity. Let's see how Voracity does with that one. So this let's just kind of go in the back before I even get into the short setup that we had. So if we scroll in a little bit, this is again is on a daily chart. These last few moves that you had were actually really good. This one caught the gap up. As long as it hit above the previous bar's high, then it would have gotten you into that trade. You've got a short setup right here, basing on as long as it hits below the low of this candlestick, then you'd get into the trade. This is a little bit quicker moves as far as that goes. I probably wouldn't trade it because it's a lot faster moving in my personal opinion. I like to look at those larger, bigger moves like you saw with that travel stock layout that I had created. But a good example, you know, if you want to look at stocks based on that price range, that's what I'm going to get in there. The other thing that that Vince does actually go over into the Explore reports window. A lot of times I get this question. Let me actually just bring it back up, and I'm probably going to bring Jeff Gibby on because he explains it a lot better than me. A lot of people are looking for this slope value, and from what Jeff has explained it to me, it's a rise run calculation. I don't really pay attention to it too much, but Jeff, do you mind chiming in and actually explaining that a little better so people can understand what the slope means? Can you hear me? Oh, he's not here. Anyway, I can get a better explanation. But basically, way he's explained to me, he's got a bunch of different indicator calculations, and it's a rise run calculation is what it looks for. But yeah, like I say, inside of those training videos that Vince goes over, he does explain it in a little more detail. But basically, what I gathered from it is just a rise run. It's not too important for your entries and exits, but he does look for that slope of this 20-period moving average. So we're kind of running out a little bit of time. If there are any other questions before I finish up on our GoTo or YouTube channel, Greg, I didn't see any questions on the GoTo. Oh, I hope it didn't. I hope it didn't scare him off. Okay, we'll go with that one. Okay, so I wanted to go over the pricing for those that don't have this and want to purchase it. There's kind of two options. You can either do a month-to-month subscription. It's one that I actually recommend to start out because, as you notice, the price is a little bit more expensive. It's $2,000 normally is what Vince Vora actually sells it for. For those that do like what you saw and want to just purchase it, it's a one-time cost of $9.95. And you own it for life and don't ever have to pay any subscription fees. And then if you want to just test it out for a little while to make sure it's going to work for your type of trading style, You can do a month-to-month. You pay for the first month, your next 2 months would be free. This is one that I typically recommend, just because make sure you can get the most out of it. You have 3 months to really use it, whereas if you do the one-time purchase, you only have a 30-day money-back guarantee, and that is applied to just the one-time purchase option, not to the subscription model. So I'd be happy to set up either one, but I do recommend going with the $199 model to start with, and then you can make the decision to purchase it. One point on that, if you do want to do the $199 to start with for the first 3 months, after that, if you'd like it within the first 3 months, I will actually deduct the $199 from the $995 webinar price. So you can definitely try it out, and then you just pay the difference between the sale price and the $199 and the sale price. So, that's kind of everything that I have for you today. And here I'm going to leave you with my contact. I'll also send out we send out a recording. I'll email everybody my contact as well there with some other recorded videos. If you have more and want more information as far as MetaStock goes, if you're a new user to trading, this is a great way to get started. Just by using MetaStock and Voracity together would definitely help you put the odds in your favor. But if there aren't any questions, Greg, anything else that people want to ask me? All right, great. Well, I'll go ahead and close everything else for now. I do appreciate everybody's time today and enjoy these great markets with trading, and hope to see or hear from you soon. Take care.